Welcome to something to talk about.
Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and I got one of them A Song of Ice and Fire locations to cover. And yeah, we're going to talk about the the Hellholt. Nobody's going to get that joke. This is the seat of House Uller. And you know what they say? Half of the Ullers are half mad, and the other half are worse. They didn't say it that way. They said it correctly without stumbling. But if you don't know what's going on here, my name is Taco, and you can pause this, read this, and I'm going to stumble and stammer my way through this script I have written in front of me because I don't do any editing. So yeah, I like the feel of just hanging out, you know, like just being loud and obnoxious directly to your face with no refining it. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, if you were new to my Song of Ice and Fire location series, this is the fourth one, I think. And yeah, I'm having a lot of good responses to it. So go ahead and like and subscribe and then share this. Keep in mind spoilers for the Song of Ice and Fire books and the possibly the Game of Thrones show. A little less for this one because the Hellholt isn't a place that we go to, but we hear a lot about it. And this is mostly going to be a Dornish history lesson because we don't have any characters from the main series that go there. We have somebody who tries, but yeah, so this is a good one. I'm really pumped for the Hellholt. Like Ullers is one of my favorite like low-key houses, especially Dornish houses. I love any type of good hellish symbolism, right? And the House Uller is full of it. So yeah, full of it. Yeah, so let's talk about House Uller, and then we'll get into kind of the area that these guys are in, and then talk history, and then get into modern stuff, but that's gonna be very small. Yeah, so House Uller. So House Uller, the Hellholt, is one of the great noble houses in Dorne. The Hellholt is in the middle of the Dornish desert, and they are reputed to be impulsive and unpredictable. They're a little crazy. That's what they're trying to say. A Dornish saying is half of the Ullers are half mad and the other half are worse. I love that. So House Uller are an example of sandy Dornish. So if you don't know, there are three types of three groups of Dornish folk, right? There's salty, sandy, and stony, and this is these guys are the sandy ones. So they live in the deserts and the long river valleys, right? So their faces are burned down by the hot Dornish sun. They are even darker than salty Dornishmen, and these may include the Ullers and Corgyles are other sandy Dornishes, houses which are founded by adventurers who braved the desert. And we're going to get to that, right? So let's talk about this area in Dorne, like southern Dorne, right? So Dorne is the hottest region in Westeros. The region is rocky, mountainous, arid, and dry, and features the only desert on the continent. Most of Dorne south of the Red Mountains is an arid wasteland. Eastern Dorne largely consists of dry, stony soil, ill-suited for agriculture, while Western Dorne contains deserts of red and white sand. The lords of a house of Vaith, for instance, are known as the lords of the Red Dunes, right? Well, nobles of old settled in the desert once called themselves lords of the wells, right? Because there's probably some wells. Sand dogs that live in the desert. So that's interesting. Dorne's rivers provide some fertile lands, and even during the long summer, there is even enough rain to and other supplies of water to keep Dorne hospitable. Inland water is almost as valuable as gold, and wells are jealously guarded. The major Dornish river is the Greenblood in southeastern Dorne, which is formed by the Vaith and the Scourge near Godsgrave. So there's a lot of rivers, right? And we're going to talk about the Brimstone in southern Dorne flows past the Hellholt to the Summer Sea. So that's the main area we're talking about, right? So we're in the middle of a hot desert, right? And there is a river called the Brimstone, which we're going to it to it. And the Hellholt is on that river. So that's how they survive, is living off the river, I'm assuming, even though this river seems pretty unhospitable. So yeah, history of the Hellholt in the Brimstone. So first I'm going to just kind of tell you guys about who ruled the Hellholt, or who ruled the Brimstone at one point, right? So the Hellholt, also called the Hellholt, all right, I didn't need to do that, is a seat for House Uller in southern Dorne. The castle is located near the source of the river Brimstone, east of Sandstone and west of the Vaith. The Brimstone is a river in southern Dorne known for its sulfurous waters. Back in the day, before Nymeria showed up with her ships, the now extinct house known as House Dryland ruled as kings of the Brimstone from their seat, Hellgate Hall. Lucifer Dryland, known as last of his ilk, was ironically the last of his line, and was one of the 6 kings, defeated kings sent to the wall by Nymeria and Mors Martell. So I don't think others didn't wait. I'm assuming if House Dryland, which is a great name, it's not a myth, Dryland's not a myth, ruled over the Brimstone, they must have ruled over the others at one point. That's what I'm guessing, because we do know that the others were around before the coming of the Rhaenyra and Nymeria with her 10,000 ships. We know that others were around before that, which we're about to get to, because we know what they do during the war that Lucifer, great name, Lucifer Dryland, got sent to the wall for, right? So I'm assuming they were kind of just part of, like, also at River Brimstone, and probably even sworn to the House Dryland. And then when the war came out, broke out, they made the right decision. And then now they're kind of in charge of the River Brimstone. That's not stated anywhere, but if you put on your thinking cap, that's kind of the only, because of them overlapping with House Dryland, that must have been how they inhabited the Brimstone, right? So the Hellholt was founded during the coming of the Andals to Dorne by the Ullers, who were Andal adventurers. The Andals made their mark on Dorne as they did on all of the south of the neck of Westeros. Yet most historians agree that their impact was less here than any of the other southern kingdoms. Some, such as the Ullers, Corgyles, and Vaiths, adventured into the more hospitable regions of Dorne, which we already kind of said. The Ullers raised a grim, stinking seat besides the sulfurous yellow waters of the Brimstone. The Hellholt is named after an event in which rivals were invited to their castle, locked inside, and then burned to death. And that this action inspired their arms, which we looked at earlier, right? It's just like a big fire. So we know that they kind of did like they're not a first man house, so maybe the right of the first night isn't important to them. But yeah, and they did do a giant war crime, kind of a red wedding-y type thing, right? Where they invited their rivals in, and they're like, "Hey, everything's cool, don't worry." And they're like, "Lock the doors, light them on fire," right? it's pretty horrific. And yeah, I'm assuming the half that did that was the half that is fully mad, because that's insane. All right, there we go. So that's how they got their arms and their house. So let's talk about Nymeria's War. So that's what I'm talking about. They must have been around before Nymeria's War and just were just subservient to House Dryland, right? So yeah, Nymeria's War. Princess Nymeria led the Rhaenyra in exile from the Rhine aboard 10,000 ships. After years of wandering, the surviving Rhaenyra, mostly women, children, and elderly, landed on the mouth of the Greenblood in southeastern Dorne. Nymeria made common cause with Mors Martell, lord of the Sand Ship. Sand Ship. That's what he was. It's not Sand Spear. Sunspear. Oh, well, let me. All right, I don't know why I have to question past Taco's research, because he was right. I thought it was a typo. I'm like, what? What's the Sand Ship? So apparently that's the ancient house of House Martell before they made Sunspear. So that's pretty cool, right? So yeah, Mors Martell, whose lands were dwarfed by those of the other powerful kings such as House Ironwood. The campaign of Nymeria and Moors to conquer Dorne took years to accomplish, and they had to defeat numerous lords and petty kings. The others supported House Nymeria Martell against House Ironwood during Nymeria's War, and I'm assuming against House Dryland as well. At some point after the death of Mors Martell at the Third Battle of the Boneway, an unnamed Lord Uller married Nymeria and served as her consort and counselor, since Nymeria remained the unquestioned ruler of Dorne, right? She was the queen, and just because you married she was a princess, and just because you married this princess doesn't make you the ruler, right? You're just like a prince consort, if you will. Their marriage remained childless, and Nymeria married Sir Davos Dane, the Sword of the Morning, after Uller's death. So we don't know his name, but it was some Uller married Nymeria. So that's really cool. So let's get into some really vicious, bloody stuff. And yeah, it gets bad. I left out a lot of the really sick war crimes of the First Dornish War. Not all of them. I don't think I need to give a trigger warning because I did leave out the really bad ones. But they're there. The First Dornish War. So at the start of the First Dornish War in 4 AC. So keep in mind, Aegon tried to conquer all of Westeros, right? And he did send down his sister to Dorne to be like, hey, we're taking you over. And the Yellow Toad of Dorne, how am I not remembering her name right now? I'm not even gonna try. But the Princess of Dorne at the time, the Yellow Toad, kind of just told her, like, this is Dorne, we don't bend. And she left. And then after they kind of settled everything else, and they got all the other regions, they King Aegon gets coordinated. They start building the Red Keep, and then finally they're like, all right, let's take Dorne. So that's why it's a little later, right? That's why it starts in 4 AC. So Queen Rhaenys led the first assault on Dorne on her dragon Meraxes, while Aegon and Harlan Tyrell warred in the Princess Pass against the Mountain Lords. The Dornish defenders ambushed the Targaryen forces, but they would run as soon as they saw dragons take flight. A quarter of Lord Tyrell's men died of sun and thirst as they marched on the Hellholt. So they went to march on the Hellholt, but that's across the entire desert. So that's pretty brutal, right? So a lot of them just died before they can even get there. And those who survived to reach the castle found it empty, and the Ullers all fled. So they didn't even get to kill anybody. They showed up and no one was even there. So his soldiers then were sickened by the fish taken from the sulfurous Brimstone, this horrible yellow sulfury river. I'm sure the fish gonna give you some, some sulfur poisoning, right? Harlan marched east after learning of the defenestration of a Sunspear, which is when a Rosby got tossed out of a window. Love it. But his host disappeared in the Red Sands between the Hellholt and Vaith. So if you're not catching, if I'm going a little too fast, the Targaryen forces try to invade. They're kind of going all over. They put a Rosby in charge of Sunspear. And then this Tyrell ends up taking Hellholt, hanging out there. A lot of his men died on the way, and then they died while they're eating this fish. And then they hear that the Rosby guy got tossed out a window. So they're like, all right, let's march. And no one ever saw him again. They disappeared. They didn't even make it to the next castle, which is Vaith. They just died. Where was I? Between Hellholt and Vaith, the reports of travelers in the area claim that occasionally the winds shifted the sands to reveal bones and pieces of armor, but the sandy Dornishmen who wandered the deep desert say that the sands are burial grounds for thousands of years of battles, and that the bones might just be from any time. Like, hey, there's a bunch of dead soldiers here. Oh, are those Tyrell's men? Maybe. So then in 9 AC, so the war's been going on proper for about 5 years, the Targaryens unleashed their dragons, burning defiant castles, including the Hellholt. This led to the retaliation of the Dornish, burning Night Song and villages around Old Town. So if you guys haven't done, and I'm not giving you everything, I'm giving you a lot of the first Dornish War. That's mostly all the talk that we're doing today. It's mostly going to be for the first Dornish War. But I'm leaving a lot of the Dornish War out. And essentially what it wasn't a proper war like, we'll meet you in battle, we'll bring us, and then we just clash in battle, and may the best battle guy win. That's not how it's done in Dorne, man. Like, no, they leave. They do some ambush tactics. They do guerrilla tactics. They're like, oh, you're coming over to this castle. We're just going to abandon it and poison everything around. And then maybe when you're sleeping, we're just going to drop scorpions on you. Like, it's not that kind of a fight. It's way more bitter and vicious in a way, even though it's not a bunch of small folk meeting in a field. It's assassination attempts and people showing up at weddings and doing war crimes at weddings and selling people into slavery, and just assassinations after assassinations. And we're going to get to some of that, and then just dragons burning houses or burning down keeps. And then the Dornish men burning down keeps. So what I'm saying, this isn't your normal war. This is kind of a way more gritty knife fight in the dark type war. And it's not fun. Don't do wars. Wars are bad. Don't do them, man. All right. So yeah, that's what I was getting at of there. It's like retaliation after retaliation after retaliation. And yeah. So yeah, let's get into Dragon's Wrath. Another retaliation. So again, the Targaryens then turn to their dragons, unleashing their fury upon Starfeld and Skyreach, and then the Hellholt again. It was the Hellholt where the Dornish had their greatest success against the Targaryens. A yard-long bolt from a scorpion atop the tallest tower pierced the eye of Meraxes, and the great dragon and Rhaenys Targaryen fell from the sky. In her death throes, the dragon, Meraxes, was able to destroy the castle's highest tower. That's where the scorpion bolt came from, and a part of the curtain wall. So Meraxes did take some stuff down when she was falling. Some say Rhaenys lost her seat and fell to her death. Others say that she was crushed beneath Meraxes in the yard. But a few accounts claim that the queen survived her dragon's fall, only to die a slow death by torment and torture in the dungeons by the others. So yeah, maybe the others found her body and tortured her. And I know I don't have it in here because it's just conjecture, and I'm not doing in my locations videos, at least so far, I'm not diving into theories as much as I am with characters. But one of the ideas, or later on when Aegon gets a letter, Aegon's letter, if you know what I'm talking about, from Dorne. I did talk about it when I covered one of the princesses of Dorne, but he gets a letter, Aegon gets a letter, and he doesn't tell anyone about it, and he burns it, and then he like calls peace after that. So that letter possibly had something to do. One of the theories of what was inside that letter is something with Rhaenys, like, hey, Rhaenys is alive and we're going to give her a quick death or something. If you pull this off, we'll stop torturing her. If you call us a truce or whatever, right? So there is the idea that inside that letter is something to do with Rhaenys. I didn't want to leave that out. I did leave it out, but I always knew I was going to just tell you guys about it here. So let's go back, though. So right after Rhaenys dies, the grief Aegon and Visenya, her sister and brother / sister, wife, and husband, felt at the death of Rhaenys was great. The next 2 years would later be called the years of the Dragon's Wrath. The Targaryens burned every Dornish stronghold at least once, except for Sunspear and the Shadow City, right? And the only reason they didn't burn Sunspear is they heard that Sunspear had a way to kill dragons, so they stayed away from Sunspear. But they burned everything else. The sands around the Hellholt were fused into glass in places. So hot was Balerion the Black Dread's fiery breath. The Dornish lords were forced into hiding, But even that did not buy them safety, because Lord Fuller, Lord Vaith, Lady Tullen, and 4 successive lords of the Hellholt were murdered one after the other, for the Iron Throne offered a lord's ransom in gold for the head of any Dornish lords. But only 2 killers ever lived to collect their rewards, however, and the Dornishmen took their reprisals, repaying blood with blood. Like I was saying, it's nasty and bitter, right? So the Dragon's Wrath happens and they start burning everything, and all these High Lords go into hiding. But then the Targaryens are like, we're going to give anyone who kills a High Lord and can prove it like a lord's ransom. We're going to give you so much. And then that ended up happening with a bunch of lords dying and 4 different Ullers killed in a row. But no one can collect, because you go kill a freaking Dornish lord and go to collect your money and somebody murks you back. So it's just murking on top, murking and death and death and death. And it's nasty. Again, no war is good. I'm not a proponent of war at all, actually. But this is just nasty. Nasty bit of business. So, yeah, let's keep going. We're almost done. So, yeah, that's all we had for, we're going to get in the current lord. So that keeps going until, like I said, there was peace terms, kind of like an armistice, and Dorne doesn't actually join the 7 Kingdoms for quite a while after that, right? So, yeah, just bitterness and bitterness and bitterness. But that's the last we hear of the Ullers. I do believe, but I couldn't find it. I found it on the wiki, and then I read all the sources I could, that they had Meraxes, that the Ullers had Meraxes bones like up in display in the Hellholt. That might be true, but I couldn't find it from either if it is. I mean, I didn't look every single page of Fire and Blood. I looked through a lot of it. But if it was in Fire and Blood or the World of Ice and Fire or one of the main stories, I couldn't find it. But that's what I read somewhere, but I didn't put it in here because I couldn't back it up, right? So, okay. The current Ullers. So Harmon Uller is the Lord of the Hellholt and the head of House Uller. Ellaria Sand is the paramour of Prince Oberyn Martell and is Harmon's bastard daughter. This makes Harmon the grandfather of the 4 youngest Sand Snakes, Elia, Obara, Doria, and Lorenza Sand, right? The Sand Snakes, the younger Sand Snakes. Harmon Uller, his brother Sir Ulwick Uller, and his natural daughter Ellaria Sand are among the Dornish nobility that accompany Prince Oberyn Martell to King's Landing. There, Oberyn is killed in a trial by combat by Gregor the Mountain Clegane. So during her failed Queenmaker plot, I'm jumping ahead, right? Arianne Martell, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I just covered Myrcella Baratheon, so you can go back and watch my Myrcella Baratheon, because that covers almost everything there is to know about the Queenmaker plot. And if you even want more, I covered Tyene Sand, the Sand Snakes, and then let's talk about the difference as well. And who else did I cover for the Queenmaker plot? Spotted Silva Santagar, right? Yeah. And those are, if you're looking for videos that are going to explain the Queenmaker plot, go check those ones out. So, yeah. So when she's doing the Queenmaker plot that doesn't work out, Arianne Martell intends to crown Princess Myrcella Baratheon as queen at the Hellholt, trusting the Ullers to join her cause due to their retaliation or their relation with Oberyn, because they like Oberyn Martell, the Red Viper. So before she can do this, however, her party is intercepted and captured at the Greenblood. The Ullers are present at the feast when Sir Balon Swan arrives in Sunspear to deliver the head of Sir Gregor Clegane. If it's actually his head, it's a skull, really. They do not drink when Rakasso raises a toast to King Tommen Baratheon. So he's like, hey, to King Tommen, and the Ullers are like, nah. There you guys go. So that's everything we know about the Hellholt, and kind of became a video for House Uller as well. So yeah, really interesting. I love the Hellholt, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know of a location that isn't too big or too small for me to cover. It needs to be in that right little little wheelhouse there. So yeah, Hellholt was a really good one. I covered House. First, I covered the Whispers, and then House, or not House. You guys are already saying it. The Shadow Tower up at the wall, and then at Castle Derry, and now Hellholt. So yeah, but yeah, that's all I got. Go ahead, click like, subscribe, share this if you want. Smash that button of buttons and do the buttons and stuff. And yeah, peace.